We usually need at least 2 different exercises to maximize muscle growth in any one muscle. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. I thought I would chat with you guys and get us a little bit about this today. And again, point of contention, and this used to not be something that people argued. It used to not be something that everyone didn't understand. This has become a topic in more recent years when minimalist training started becoming a little more in vogue. To where a lot of people started believing that, hey, if we just have enough load, if enough tension, every muscle will grow maximally, from individual exercises, right? That was something that kind of came about due to the starting strength type models, the strong lift models, all these things, where people started saying, look, I don't need all these different exercises if I just have one good big movement and I get strong at it. Okay, and while that sounds good in theory, that has not been in practice what has historically worked, and that's not really what's been found to be the case when we look at both the lab and we look at just human biomechanics. Okay, now, that being said, if a person has very, very limited training time, right, they have a very short amount of time they can get in the gym and train, it makes sense to follow just a big compound movement, minimal sets, and just coming in and pushing really, really hard. Okay, I get that it can absolutely make sense in that context. Okay, so that's where a lot of times you have people who come in, they do 3 exercises, 4 exercises the most, 3 days a week. Okay, and in that case, yeah, you would then be looking at, hey, what exercise will give me the most bang for my buck? Could I just do bench press and weighted chins for most of my upper body? Could I throw in some overhead press and be largely done with it? Could I squat and deadlift for the lower body? Okay, and yeah, that can work to some extent. I'm not saying you can't build a great base doing that. No one is saying that. You're still going to get good gains as long as progressive overload is there, and as long as these sets have enough total quality so that we reach the fatigue we need. Okay, that is your combination. If we have the presence of progressive overload combined with sufficient total fatigue, your muscles will grow. Okay? And that can be done on a handful of exercises. However, I want to make some caveats to that. Number 1, it's not going to be maximal. Number 2, you're going to have lagging muscles. I'm not saying you can't get good gains, but you're not going to maximize it. And you're certainly going to have lagging heads of muscles. You're going to have lagging muscles if you do that. It's going to happen because everything's not really truly balanced. Number 3, also the highest potential for overuse. Highest potential for overuse. Now, keeping in mind, people say, but this lifter over here, whatever this Russian lifter, they did almost exclusively squats for their thighs. They have massive thighs. But then you start looking how many sets that they do. They weren't really doing minimalist training, though. Sometimes you're looking and it's like, this dude did 12 sets of squats every week. And I've seen some of that, with some of these really, really jacked lifters, and certain strength athletes and stuff. But it's like, yeah, the dude's doing 12 sets of back squats. If we're coming back over to any sort of minimalism, you're no longer in minimalism. What's the training time on that? Right, because you're not taking 60-second breaks between hard sets of squats. I don't care. You're not doing those with a minute apart. You're going to run out of steam real fast, or you're like 10 reps from failure on the first set. So before long, you end up looking at it going, well, how much squatting is this guy doing? He's doing 12 sets a week with 3 to 5 minutes between. This guy's squatting for an hour and a half every week. Right, but that's kind of not the minimalism thing. Just keep that in mind. Okay, let's keep that in mind. All right. Now, can someone still get pretty jack legs off 3 sets of squats? Yeah, if the progressive overload is present and fatigue is present, sure. Okay. I personally don't need a lot of quad volume to grow. All right. But there's still splash over with a lot of stuff. Just keep that in mind. Doing glute bridges and deadlifts, for example, still grows your quads. Good assistance stuff then behind squats. All right. So that's the thing, though. A lot of the guys who are really jacked on minimalist exercise selection are still doing tons of volume. They are also at a very high risk of overuse versus the person who said, maybe I should do 3 sets of squats and then do some hack squats or leg press and then some extensions. You see where we're going? The overuse potential is lower. Okay, overuse potential is lower. So over time, the injury rate could be less, right? So you have those things to factor in, right? Then we come over to the fact that most muscles have multiple functions. Many of them are biarticulated, meaning they even have functions at both ends of the joint, all right? Including your triceps, including your biceps. People don't even seem to know that. Simple muscle like the biceps still has some function at the shoulder joint. Only one of the heads is involved. But that head doesn't get 100% stimulation purely from elbow flexion. You need some shoulder movement. Okay? So think about that. And people say, well, you can still get that off one exercise. Absolutely true. But again, there are other heads of some muscles do require some different stuff. Particularly we get into bigger muscles, pectorals, right? Quads, hamstrings. A lot of them, they have multiple functions that are hard to get off of a single exercise. Plus, we have studies that oftentimes show the recruitment patterns are different through a muscle. Meaning it's almost impossible to fully recruit the hamstrings, for example, off of a single exercise. And in fact, we start comparing different ones, you'll find that the proximal versus distal ends get more stimulus. And we even see that to some extent with some bicep studies, although people argue maybe it looks like the brachialis it may be being measured. But how many people out there your brachialis counts as part of what they think of as bicep anyways? Okay. Something to ponder. Yeah, you have that, and then we also have the fact that studies that generally show if the same volume is split across 2 exercises that are both good exercises versus the same volume off a single exercise, it usually shows a statistically significant larger amount of muscle growth. Is it massive? No, but it's measurable. Keeping in mind that's for the same amount of work. So we're back over to that point with the training minimalism. I'm not saying training minimalism can't work. I have clients who need minimalism due to time constraints. I'm saying that you still need to think in terms of what all are you missing? Or do you have certain muscles that are then getting missed? Again, if you're trying to use all compounds, you're not going to maximally develop a lot of your muscles. You're going to need some isolation for certain muscles if you want a certain look. You want to maximize your jactitude. Okay. I'm sorry, that's just a simple reality. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.